When success meets heart, Damien Cross stood on the balcony of his Seattle penthouse, staring at the city lights below. At 38, he had everything most people dreamed about. His company, CrossTech Industries, had changed how the world thought about artificial intelligence and smart technology. Money filled his bank accounts. Respect followed his name. Yet tonight, something felt hollow inside his chest. His phone buzzed with notifications, but Damien ignored them. He had been doing that a lot lately. Ever since Riley Bennett walked into his life 18 months ago, the woman who changed everything, Riley had arrived at CrossTech with a portfolio that impressed even Damien's hardest critics. At 26, she understood social media and digital content better than people twice her age. Her interview had been short. Damien remembered asking her one question: "Why should I hire someone so young for such an important position?" Riley had smiled, not nervous at all. "Because young people are your audience, Mr. Cross. You need someone who speaks their language, not someone trying to translate it." She got the job that day. Within 6 months, Riley transformed CrossTech's entire public presence. The company went from boring tech giant to relatable innovator. She created campaigns that showed the human side of technology. She posted behind-the-scenes content that made people care about the company's mission. She turned Damien himself into an approachable figure, someone people wanted to follow and support. "You need to smile more in photos," Riley had told him during their first strategy meeting. "People invest in companies led by humans, not robots." "I thought we were selling robots," Damien had replied dryly. Riley had laughed, a sound like sunshine breaking through clouds. "Then at least act warmer than your products." The dangerous line working with Riley became the highlight of Damien's days. She challenged him in ways nobody else dared. She made him laugh when he forgot how. She saw past his wealth and success to something deeper, something he had buried years ago under ambition and fear. Their late-night planning sessions became routine. Riley would bring coffee and ideas. Damien would provide feedback and find himself watching her more than the presentation slides. The way she tucked her brown hair behind her ear when concentrating, how her green eyes lit up when discussing a new campaign. The small scar on her wrist from a childhood bike accident she had mentioned once. "You're staring again," Riley said one evening, not looking up from her laptop. "I'm thinking," Damien lied, "about work." Always about work. But it was not about work. It had not been about work for months. Damien knew he was crossing dangerous territory. Riley worked for him. Any relationship would complicate everything he had built. Besides, he had learned long ago that love was just another word for eventual loss. His parents' bitter divorce had taught him that. His failed engagement to Juliana Hartwell 5 years ago had reinforced it. Better to keep Riley at arm's length. Better to enjoy her company professionally and ignore the way his heart raced when she entered a room. The unexpected visitor, Juliana. "Your Hartwell returned to Seattle on a Tuesday morning in October." She called Damien's office without warning, her voice smooth and confident as always. "Darling, I'm in town for a few weeks. We should have dinner." Damien hesitated. "Juliana, I don't think that's necessary." "Please, Damien. I'm not trying to rekindle anything. My father's company wants to discuss a partnership with CrossTech. This is business." The word Damien understood. He agreed to dinner at an upscale restaurant downtown. Riley noticed the change in his mood immediately. "Everything okay?" she asked, finding him staring out his office window. "Fine. Just an old friend visiting." "Old friend or old something else?" Damien looked at her sharply. Riley's expression was carefully neutral, but something in her eyes suggested she already knew the answer. "Old something else," he admitted. "But it's just dinner. Nothing important." Riley nodded slowly. "Right? Nothing important." She left his office, and Damien wanted to call her back, to explain that Juliana meant nothing to him anymore. To say that the only person who made his heart race was standing right there, but the words stuck in his throat, trapped behind years of practiced emotional distance. The man at the coffee shop. Riley tried not to think about Damien's dinner with his ex-girlfriend. She reminded herself that they were just boss and employee, that the late nights and meaningful glances were all in her imagination. That successful billionaires did not fall for regular women like her. She stopped at her favorite coffee shop near Pike Place Market, eating caffeine and distraction. The place smelled like roasted beans and fresh pastries. Rain pattered against the windows, creating a cozy atmosphere. "Excuse me, is this seat taken?" Riley looked up to see a man about her age, holding a coffee cup and wearing a friendly smile. He had kind brown eyes and dark hair that curled slightly at the edges. "It's all yours," Riley said, gesturing to the empty chair. "Thanks. I'm Owen. Owen Price." Riley Bennett. They started talking, and Riley found herself genuinely enjoying the conversation. Owen was a pediatric nurse at Seattle Children's Hospital. He told funny stories about his young patients. He listened when Riley talked about her work, asking thoughtful questions without making her feel interrogated. "You're really passionate about what you do," Owen observed. "That's rare." "I love creating connections between people and brands," Riley explained, making them care about something bigger than themselves. "That's beautiful. I feel the same way about nursing. Every kid I help feels like changing the world a little bit." Over the next 2 weeks, Riley and Owen met for coffee 3 more times. He was easy to be around, uncomplicated. He made her laugh without making her second-guess every word. When he asked her to dinner, she said yes, without hesitation. Their date was lovely. Owen took her to a small Italian restaurant with checkered tablecloths and candles on every table. They shared pasta and stories. When he walked her to her car and kissed her goodnight, it was sweet and gentle. Riley felt something she had not experienced in months around Damien. Peace, no racing heart. No analyzing every gesture. Just simple, honest attraction between two people who were free to act on it. The photo that changed everything Saturday evening.
All right.
Riley posted a photo to her Instagram. It showed the tiramisu she and Owen had shared, the candlelight soft in the background. Just visible at the edge of the frame were their hands. Fingers intertwined on the white tablecloth, she added a simple heart emoji and caption, "Sometimes the sweetest moments are the unexpected ones." Riley did not think about who might see it. She certainly did not think about Damien, who followed her personal account from his private profile. When walls come crashing down, Damien saw the photo at midnight. He had been working late trying to distract himself from thoughts of Riley. When her post appeared in his feed, his world tilted sideways. The image was innocent, just desert and hands. But those hands told a story that made Damien's chest tighten with an emotion he had not felt in years. Raw, burning jealousy. He stared at the photo for 10 minutes, then 20. He enlarged it, studying every detail, the way their fingers intertwined, the intimacy suggested by such a simple touch, the happiness radiating from such a casual moment. Someone else was making Riley smile. Someone else was holding her hand. Someone else was getting the warmth and light that Damien had convinced himself he did not want. His phone slipped from his hand, clattering on the marble floor of his penthouse. "No," Damien whispered to the empty room. "No, no, no." For 18 months, he had maintained perfect control. He had kept Riley at a professional distance. He had protected both of them from the complications of crossing that line. He had been so careful, so rational, so smart. And now she was gone. Not physically gone. She would still come to work Monday morning. She would still create brilliant campaigns and challenge his thinking. But emotionally, she had moved on. She had found someone who could give her what Damien was too scared to offer. The realization hit him like a physical blow. He loved Riley Bennett. Not as an employee, not as a colleague. He loved her with an intensity that terrified him. He loved her laugh and her passion and her ability to see through his walls. He loved how she made him want to be better than the cold, calculated businessman everyone expected, and he had lost her because he was too afraid to admit it. Damien picked up his phone with shaking hands. He stared at Riley's photo until his vision blurred. Then he did something he never did. He let himself feel the full weight of his mistake, the crushing regret, the devastating loss. The absolute certainty that he had just let the best thing in his life slip away Monday morning. Reality. Riley walked into Crosstech Monday morning with a lightness in her step. Her weekend with Owen had been wonderful. Simple and sweet and everything she needed after months of complicated feelings for her boss. "Good morning," she said cheerfully to Damien's assistant. "Is Mr. Cross available for our 9 o'clock? The assistant's expression was strange. "Worried, maybe?" "He's been asking for you since 7. You should go right in." Riley knocked once and entered Damien's office. He stood at his usual spot by the windows, but something was different. His normally perfect appearance looked rumpled. His tie hung loose. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. "Mr. Cross? Are you all right?" Damien turned slowly. When his gray eyes met hers, Riley saw something that made her breath catch. Pain, raw and undeniable. "We need to talk," Damien said quietly. "About us." Riley's heart started racing. "There is no us. We're colleagues, don't." His voice cracked slightly. "Please don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about, Damien. I don't understand." He pulled out his phone, showing her the Instagram photo. "This who is he?" Riley felt her cheeks flush. "That's none of your business." "I know it's not. I have no right to ask. No claim on you." Damien moved closer. "But seeing this photo destroyed me. Completely and utterly destroyed me." The confession hung between them like a bridge neither knew how to cross. "What are you saying?" Riley whispered. "I'm saying I've been an idiot. I'm saying I pushed you away because I was scared. I'm saying that watching you with someone else made me realize what I've known for months, but was too afraid to admit." "And what's that?" Damien looked at her with such intensity that Riley forgot how to breathe. "That I'm in love with you. That I have been for months. That seeing you happy with someone else is killing me, even though I have no right to feel that way." Riley stood frozen, her mind racing. This was everything she had wanted to hear. Every late night she had hoped Damien would say these words. But now, after she had finally started moving on, after she had found someone uncomplicated and available, he chose to speak. "You can't do this," she said, her voice shaking. "You can't wait until I find happiness with someone else, and then suddenly decide you have feelings. No, you can't expect me to drop everything, because you finally figured out what you want." "No. Then why are you telling me this?" Damien's expression was raw with vulnerability. "Because you deserve the truth. Because I can't watch you build a life with someone else without you knowing how I feel. Because maybe, just maybe, there's still a chance you feel something for me too." Riley felt tears burning behind her eyes. "This isn't fair." "No. Nothing about this is fair. But Riley, I'm standing here telling you that I love you. That I want you. That I'm willing to risk everything we've built professionally for the chance at something real. What about your fears? Your walls? All the reasons you kept me at a distance. Still there," Damien admitted. "I'm terrified. But I'm more terrified of spending my life wondering what we could have been." Riley turned away, unable to meet his gaze. Her mind spun with conflicting emotions. Owen was safe and kind. Damien was complicated and scared. Owen offered peace. Damien offered passion and pain and possibility. "I need time," she finally said. "I need to think. Take all the time you need. I'll wait." Riley walked to the door, then paused without turning around. "You should have told me sooner, Damien. Before I started building something with someone else." "I know. And I'll regret that for the rest of my life, whether you choose me or not." After she left, Damien returned to his window, watching Seattle wake up beneath gray skies. He had finally spoken the truth, finally admitted what his heart had known for months. Now all he could do was wait and hope that love could overcome fear, that truth could heal wounds, and that sometimes the hardest words to say were the ones that mattered most. The weight of silence. Riley spent the next 3 days avoiding Damien as much as possible. She sent reports through email instead of meeting in person. She scheduled her lunch breaks when she knew he would be busy. She arrived early and left late, timing her movements to miss him in the hallways. But avoiding him physically did not stop her mind from replaying his confession on an endless loop. "I'm in love with you." The words echoed through her thoughts during meetings, during coffee breaks, during sleepless nights when she stared at her ceiling and wondered how her life had become so complicated, Owen texted her daily with sweet messages and funny pictures from the hospital. Each message was a reminder of the simple happiness she could have if she'd just let go of Damien. But her heart refused to cooperate with logic. "You look terrible," her coworker Jennifer said Thursday afternoon, finding Riley staring blankly at her computer screen. "Are you getting sick?" "Just tired," Riley lied. "Working on a big project? Or avoiding a certain CEO who has been walking past your office about 12 times a day?" Riley's head snapped up. "What?" Jennifer raised her eyebrows. "Girl, everyone has noticed. Damien Cross walks by here constantly, slows down like he might stop, then keeps going. Yesterday he did it so many times that people started making bets on when he would actually knock. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like two people who care about each other but are too scared to do anything about it." Riley closed her laptop with more force than necessary. "I need coffee." She escaped to the building's cafe on the ground floor, grateful for the noise and anonymity of the crowded space. She ordered her usual latte and found a corner table. Pulling out her phone to distract herself, Owen had sent another message, "Thinking about you. Dinner tomorrow night? I want to show you my favorite spot by the waterfront." Riley typed back, "That sounds perfect. See you at 7. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Owen was good for her. Owen was available and honest and uncomplicated. Owen did not make her question everything about herself. "Riley." The voice made her jump. She looked up to find Damien standing beside her table, holding his own coffee cup. He looked as exhausted as she felt. Dark circles under his eyes, his normally perfect hair slightly disheveled. "May I sit?" Riley wanted to say no. She wanted to tell him to leave her alone, to give her space to think. But something in his expression stopped her. 5 minutes, she said. Damien sat down carefully, like he was approaching a frightened animal. "I'm not here to pressure you. I just need you to know something." "What?" "I spoke with the board yesterday. I'm stepping back from some of my duties. Promoting my VP to handle more of the daily operations." Riley frowned. "Why would you do that?" "Because if you choose me, I don't want there to be any question about power dynamics or professional complications. I'm creating distance between us professionally so that personally we can be equals." The gesture stunned her. Damien had built Crosstech from nothing. The company was his entire identity. The idea of him stepping back, even partially, seemed impossible. "That's crazy," Riley whispered. "Your company is everything to you." "No." Damien's gray eyes held hers with intensity that made her heart race. "I thought it was everything. But this past week taught me something important. Success means nothing if you have nobody to share it with. Money means nothing if you're alone. I built an empire, Riley, but I forgot to build a life." "Damien, I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet. Just know that I'm serious about this. About you. I'm not asking you to give up anything. I'm showing you that I'm willing to give up everything if it means proving I've changed." Before Riley could respond, her phone buzzed with another text from Owen. The notification flashed across the screen. Visible to both of them, Damien's expression shifted. Pain flickering across his features before he carefully masked it. "You're still seeing him?" "Yes." "He's kind and stable, and he actually wants a relationship." "I want a relationship." "With you." "You want the idea of a relationship?" Riley shot back, her emotions finally breaking through her careful control. "But when things get hard, when your fear kicks in, you'll run. You'll hide behind your work and your walls and convince yourself that being alone is safer." "You're right." The admission surprised her. "That's exactly what I'll want to do. Because that's what I've done my entire life. But Riley, I'm willing to fight those instincts. I'm willing to go to therapy, to work on myself, to prove that I can be different." "Why? Why now, after all these months?" Damien set down his coffee cup and leaned forward. "Because losing you is more terrifying than any fear I have about commitment. Because that photo of you with someone else made me realize I've been slowly dying inside. Pretending I don't need love or connection or joy, because you make me want to be brave." The company crisis Friday morning brought a different kind of crisis. Riley arrived at work to find the office buzzing with worried conversations. She grabbed Jennifer in the hallway. "What's happening? Haven't you heard? Tech Global is launching a hostile takeover bid. They announced it an hour ago." Riley's blood ran cold. Tech Global was Crosstech's biggest competitor, a massive corporation known for crushing smaller companies and stripping them for parts. "Where's Damien?" "Emergency board meeting." "It's bad, Riley. Really bad." Riley rushed to the executive floor, her personal drama forgotten in the face of this larger threat. Damien's assistant stopped her before she could reach the conference room. "It's been in there for 3 hours. They're talking about selling. Damien would never sell Crosstech." Assistant's expression was grim. He might not have a choice. Riley paced the hallway, her mind racing. Crosstech was not just a company. It was Damien's dream, his creation, his entire life's work. If Tech Global took over, everything he had built would be destroyed. The conference room door finally opened. Board members filed out, their expressions ranging from angry to defeated. Damien emerged last, his face pale and drawn. He stopped when he saw Riley waiting. "You heard?" Everyone heard. "What are you going to do?" "Fight, but I'm not sure I can win this one." He ran a hand through his hair, making it stand up at odd angles. "They've been buying up stock for months. They have the resources to outbid anyone who might help us. There has to be something." Damien looked at her, and Riley saw defeat in his eyes for the first time since she had known him. "I built this company because I wanted to prove I could succeed without needing anyone. Now that independence might destroy everything, let me help." "Wow. This isn't a marketing problem, Riley." "Maybe it is." Her mind was already spinning with possibilities. Tech Global has money, but we have something they don't. We have loyalty. We have a community that believes in what Crosstech stands for. "I'm not following." Riley grabbed his arm, pulling him toward his office. "Your employees love this company. Your customers believe in your products. We've spent 18 months building authentic connections with people who care. What if we use that? The power of community." Over the next 48 hours, Riley launched the most important campaign of her career. She reached out to every employee, every customer, every person who had ever believed in Crosstech's mission. She created a social media movement called Save Crosstech that went viral within hours. Employees posted videos explaining what the company meant to them. Customers shared stories about how Crosstech products had changed their lives. Tech influencers wrote articles about the importance of protecting innovative companies from corporate predators. Riley worked without sleeping, fueled by coffee and determination. Damien worked beside her, watching in amazement as she turned a hostile takeover into a public relations war that Tech Global was losing. "You're brilliant," he said Saturday night, finding her slumped over her laptop in the conference room at 3 in the morning. "I'm exhausted," Riley mumbled. But she was smiling. "But look at these numbers. We're trending worldwide. The pressure on Tech Global is massive." Damien sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. "Why are you doing this? After everything I put you through, you could have walked away." Riley turned to face him, too tired to guard her emotions. "Because this company matters. Because these people matter. Because you matter, even when you're being an idiot. I've been a huge idiot, the biggest." They sat in comfortable silence, shoulders touching, watching the Save Crosstech movement grow on the screens in front of them. For the first time in days, Riley felt something shift inside her chest. A crack in the wall she had been building around her heart. "I had dinner with Owen tonight," she said quietly. "Before I came back here to work." Damien stiffened beside her. "How was it?" "Nice. He's really wonderful, Damien. He deserves someone who can love him completely, and you can't." Riley shook her head slowly. "No, because part of my heart belongs to someone else. Someone complicated and scared, and sometimes infuriating, but someone I can't seem to stop loving no matter how hard I try." Damien's hand found hers on the table between them. "Riley, I ended it with Owen. Told him the truth, that I have feelings for someone else and it wouldn't be fair to keep seeing him." "What did he say?" "He said I should go after what I really want, even if it's scary." Riley squeezed Damien's hand. "So here I am. scared out of my mind. But here, Damien pulled her into his arms so suddenly that Riley gasped. He held her tight, his face buried in her hair, his body shaking slightly. "I love you," he whispered. "I love you so much it terrifies me. But I'm done running. I'm done pretending I don't need you. I'm done choosing safety over happiness." Riley pulled back enough to look into his eyes. "Promise me something, anything. Promise me that when you get scared, you'll talk to me instead of pulling away. Promise me you'll fight for us, even when it's hard. Promise." "Riley, I swear to you, I will spend every day proving I'm worth this chance." She kissed him then, finally allowing herself to feel everything she had been holding back for 18 months. The kiss was soft and desperate and full of promise. When they broke apart, both were crying and smiling. "We should probably get back to work," Riley said, wiping her eyes. "We have a company to save."
"We do!"
"But first," Damien cupped her face in his hands. "Thank you for fighting for Crosstech, for fighting for me, for being brave enough to give us a chance. Just don't make me regret it. Never, I promise you, Riley Bennett. I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret loving me. It's victory and new beginnings by Monday morning." The Save Crosstech movement had forced Tech Global to withdraw their takeover bid. The public pressure was too intense, the backlash too severe. Crosstech was safe, and the victory belonged entirely to Riley's brilliant strategy. Damien stood in front of the entire company,
Riley beside him,
and announced the news to thunderous applause. "We won because we're more than a company," he told the assembled employees. "We're a community, and that community showed the world that some things are worth fighting for." He turned to Riley, taking her hand in front of everyone. "I also want to make an announcement about something personal. For too long, I kept my distance from the people I care about. I thought isolation was strength, but I've learned that real strength is vulnerability. Real power is connection." The room fell silent, everyone sensing something important was about to happen. "Riley Bennett is the most brilliant person I know. She's also the woman I love, and I'm done pretending otherwise." Gasps and whispers filled the air. Riley felt her cheeks burn, but Damien squeezed her hand and continued. "I know this is unconventional. I know some of you will have questions about professionalism and appropriate boundaries. That's why I'm also announcing that I'm stepping into an advisory role. My VP will become CEO, and I'll focus on innovation and long-term strategy. This ensures that Riley and I can be together without any conflicts of interest." He looked at Riley, his gray eyes shining with emotion. "Because she's worth more than any position or title. She's worth everything." Riley felt tears streaming down her face. In front of the entire company, she stood on her tiptoes and kissed Damien Cross, the man who had finally learned that love was not weakness, but the greatest strength of all. The office erupted in cheers. Jennifer shouted finally, loud enough for everyone to hear, making both Riley and Damien laugh. Later that evening, they stood together on Damien's penthouse balcony, watching Seattle's lights twinkle below them. Riley leaned against Damien's chest, his arms wrapped around her waist. "Are you scared?" she asked. "Terrified," Damien admitted. "But also happier than I've ever been." "Me too. Thank you for not giving up on me. For seeing something worth fighting for underneath all my walls and fear." Riley turned in his arms, looking up at his face. "Thank you for finally being brave enough to let me in." They kissed as the city sparkled around them. Two people who had nearly missed their chance at love, but had found the courage to reach for it anyway. The journey ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges and setbacks and moments when old fears resurfaced, but they would face everything together. And that made all the difference. 6 months later, morning sun filtered through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Riley's new apartment in downtown Seattle, painting everything in shades of gold and amber. She stretched lazily in bed, smiling at the sound of Damien humming off-key in the kitchen. 6 months ago, the idea of waking up to that sound would have seemed impossible. Now, it was her favorite part of every day. "Coffee's ready," Damien called out. "And I attempted pancakes." The emphasis is on attempted. Riley laughed, wrapping herself in a robe before padding into the kitchen. Damien stood at the stove, his hair adorably messy, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt that made him look nothing like the intimidating billionaire the world knew. He looked human, happy. Hers. How bad is it? She asked, peering at the slightly burnt pancakes on the griddle. On a scale of 1 to 10? Maybe a solid 4? He grinned sheepishly. But I made them with love, which has to count for something. It counts for everything. Riley kissed his cheek and grabbed the spatula. But maybe let me finish before we set off the smoke alarm again. Ate breakfast together on her small balcony, legs tangled under the table, talking about everything and nothing. This had become their routine. Damien would stay over 3 or 4 nights a week, and they would start their mornings like this. Simple, peaceful, normal. I have something to tell you, Damien said, setting down his coffee cup. Something big. Riley felt a flutter of nerves. Good, big, or bad big? Good, at least I hope you'll think it's good. We reached across the table to take her hand. I've been working on a new project. Something completely different from CrossTech. Tell me. It's a foundation. For supporting young entrepreneurs who don't have the resources or connections to get started. I'm putting $50 million of my own money into it, and I want you to help me run it. Riley stared at him in shock. $50 million. I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes, Riley. It's time to use it for something meaningful. And I can't think of anyone better to help me build something that actually changes lives. Damien, that's incredible. But are you sure you want me involved? I don't know anything about running a foundation. You know about connecting with people? About telling stories that matter. About building communities that care. Damien squeezed her hand. Besides, I've learned that the best projects are the ones we build together. Riley felt tears prick her eyes. When did you become such a romantic? The moment I stopped being an idiot and admitted I loved you. The unexpected challenge later that week. Riley was working from her office at CrossTech when Jennifer burst through the door. Her face pale. You need to see this now. Jennifer thrust her phone at Riley, showing a news article with a headline that made Riley's blood run cold. CrossTech's former CEO. Accused of ethics violations during relationship with employee. Riley's hands shook as she read the article. Someone had leaked information about her relationship with Damien, twisting the timeline to make it appear that they had been involved while she was still his employee. The article suggested that Riley's promotions and success had been based on their personal relationship rather than her merit. This is insane, Riley breathed. We didn't even get together until after he stepped down. I know that, and you know that. But the internet doesn't care about facts. Jennifer's expression was worried. It's already trending. People are calling for investigations. Riley grabbed her phone and called Damien. He answered on the first ring. I saw it, he said before she could speak. I'm already working with our lawyers. Riley, I promise you, I will fix this. How? How do you fight lies that spread faster than truth? By telling our story, the real story together. That evening, Damien and Riley sat down for a live video interview that streamed across all of CrossTech's social media platforms. Riley was terrified, but Damien held her hand throughout the entire conversation. I want to address the rumors directly, Damien began, looking straight into the camera. Yes, Riley Bennett and I are in a relationship. But that relationship began only after I stepped back from my role as CEO, specifically to eliminate any conflict of interest. Riley took a deep breath and continued. I understand why people have questions. In a perfect world, workplace relationships would never be complicated. But I want to be clear about something. Every promotion I received, every project I led, was based on measurable results. I have the analytics, the performance reviews, and the testimony of dozens of colleagues who can verify my work. Riley is brilliant at what she does, Damien added. She transformed CrossTech's entire public presence before I ever told her how I felt. The Save CrossTech campaign that protected this company from a hostile takeover was entirely her creation. She doesn't need me to succeed. She never did. But I choose to be with him anyway, Riley said softly, looking at Damien. Because love isn't about need. It's about choice. And I choose him, complications and all. The response was overwhelming. Within hours, Current and former cross-tech employees were posting their own testimonials about Riley's work ethic and talent. Clients shared stories about campaigns she had created. Industry leaders vouched for her abilities. More importantly, the public saw something authentic in that interview. Two people genuinely in love, willing to be vulnerable and honest even when facing criticism. The tide began to turn. The proposal 3 months after the controversy died down. Damien took Riley to their favorite coffee shop. The place where she had first met Owen, which felt like a lifetime ago. Where she had started to move on, never knowing that Damien would finally admit his feelings. "Why are we here?" Riley asked as they settled into a corner table. "Because this place is important. It's where you almost got away from me." Damien's expression was serious. "It's where I almost lost the best thing that ever happened to me because I was too scared to fight for it."
Damien.
"What's going on?" He reached across the table and took both of her hands. "Riley Bennett, you have changed my entire life. You taught me that success means nothing without someone to share it with. You showed me that vulnerability is strength, not weakness. You made me believe that I could be loved. Even with all my flaws and fears." Riley felt her heart start to race as Damien slipped out of his chair and knelt beside the table. "God," she whispered, "I know we've only been together for 9 months. I know some people will say it's too fast, but I've spent the last 38 years being careful and calculated, and all it got me was lonely." Damien pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "I don't want to be careful anymore. I want to be brave. I want to choose love over fear every single day for the rest of my life." He opened the box to reveal a stunning ring. Simple and elegant. Exactly Riley's style. "Marry me, Riley. Build a life with me. Build a foundation with me. Build a future with me. Let me spend every day proving that I'm worth the risk you took on loving me." Tears streamed down Riley's face. Around them, other coffee shop patrons had noticed what was happening. Phones were out, recording the moment. But Riley did not care. All she saw was Damien, looking at her like she was his entire world. "Yes," she said, her voice breaking with emotion. "Yes, yes, yes." Damien slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms. The coffee shop erupted in applause and cheers. Someone shouted, "It's the cross-tech guy," and suddenly everyone was congratulating them. But Riley and Damien only had eyes for each other. "I love you," Damien murmured against her hair. "I love you so much." "I love you too. Even when you're being an idiot," he laughed. "Especially when I'm being an idiot."
Ow.
The foundation launched 6 months later. Riley stood on a stage at the grand opening of the Cross Bennett Foundation. She had insisted on including her name, and Damien had agreed immediately. The foundation was their project together, built on equal partnership and shared dreams. The venue was packed with entrepreneurs, investors, journalists, and everyone who had supported their journey. Riley looked out at the crowd and felt overwhelming gratitude for how far they had come. 2 years ago, I was just a young woman with big dreams and a belief that authentic connection could change the world. Riley began her speech. "I was lucky enough to work for a man who believed in those dreams, even when he didn't know how to believe in himself. Who stood in the front row watching her with pride and love shining in his eyes. The Cross Bennett Foundation exists because we both learned something important. Success isn't measured by how much money you make or how powerful you become. It's measured by the lives you touch and the opportunities you create for others." Riley gestured to the displays around the room, showing the 20 young entrepreneurs who had already received funding and support from the foundation. These brilliant people come from all different backgrounds. Some grew up in poverty. Some faced discrimination. Some simply didn't have the connections that usually determine who gets a chance. But all of them have incredible ideas and unstoppable determination. The foundation will provide not just money, but mentorship, resources, and a community of support. Because that's what we all need to succeed. Not just capital, but connection. After the speeches and celebrations, Riley and Damien escaped to a quiet balcony overlooking the Seattle waterfront. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Happy?" Damien asked, wrapping his arms around her waist from behind. "Incredibly happy." You, more than I ever thought possible. He kissed the top of her head. Thank you for not giving up on me. For seeing potential in a scared, emotionally unavailable billionaire. Riley turned in his arms. Thank you for finally letting me in. For being brave enough to choose love was the best decision I ever made. Well, second best. What was the first? Hiring you. Damien grinned. Everything good in my life started the moment you walked into my office and told me I needed to smile more. You still need to smile more? I smile all the time now. You just don't notice because you make me so happy that smiling feels normal. Haley laughed and pulled him down for a kiss. Behind them, through the windows, they could see people mingling and celebrating. The Foundation's first event was a massive success. But more importantly, it represented everything they had built together. Hope, opportunity, second chances. 2. Years later, the ceremony took place on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Intimate and beautiful. Riley wore a simple white dress that moved in the sea breeze. Damien cried when he saw her walking toward him. Not caring who witnessed his emotions, they had written their own vows. And when it was Damien's turn to speak, his voice was strong and clear. Riley, 2 years ago, I saw a photo of you with another man, and it destroyed me. It made me realize that I had been slowly dying inside, pretending I didn't need love or connection. That photo was the best, worst thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me to confront everything I was afraid of. He took her hands, his gray eyes shining with unshed tears. You taught me that love isn't weakness. You showed me that the strongest thing a person can do is choose to be vulnerable with another human being. You made me believe that I could be more than my fears and my walls and my carefully constructed defenses. I promise to choose you every day, even when I'm scared. I promise to talk to you instead of pulling away. I promise to build a life with you that's messy and complicated and absolutely perfect, because we're facing it together.